SEO is actually mathematical. A lot of people don't realize that. The way that you produce content, it's being crawled by a mathematical algorithm. I could look at an entire website, a 100-page website, and I could basically tell you what words need to be in every single paragraph and where the internal links need to be, and very aggressively on scaling the agency business, but we're really trying to wrap it in software and use AI and use different automations to effectively streamline what we're doing.
Welcome to the First Sip, where we talk to cool people that do cool shit and try to learn a few things to help us build better businesses and healthier ones. Today, we're joined by George Kocher, the founder of Brand North, a multi-seven-figure SEO and website agency that actually serves the likes of Ripple. Today, we're going to be talking about the implications of AI on SEO, as well as how he found market fit by being the marketing engine behind a $150 million exit, as well as how to retain your clients, and much, much more on SEO and AI. Hey, what's up, George?
How's it going, man?
Dude, life is sweet. Have you seen those new GPT agents coming out?
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is. The speed at which GPT is progressing is it's awesome and scary all at the same time.
Couldn't agree more. I think we'll get more into that later on in the conversation. But first off, I'd love for you to introduce yourself briefly, high level. Who are you?
Absolutely. So yeah, my name is George Kocher. I own a digital marketing agency, Brand North. We focus on behavioral healthcare and just systems and scaling solutions for those industries. We do everything from SEO to custom kind of software builds, CRM integrations. We like to think of ourselves as a data attribution partner for all of our clients. So we track everything, no matter where it's coming from, if it's cold email or if it's inbound SEO or ads.
Top of funnel, bottom of funnel.
We track it all. So,
Wow.
A lot of times we'll even work with a lot of different vendors to accomplish the goals, but we want to track everything and really have a deep understanding of ROI and just how that actually impacts the business. So that's the main thing. And I guess for a little bit more background, I started my career off in investment banking. Actually, I had a degree in economics.
Explains the kind of focus on data, I would say. Eh?
Yeah, probably. It's always found that to be super important. And then, so after trading, I actually got a job at a private equity company and was in a chief marketing officer role for the portfolio companies that they have. So we'd buy a business, I'd come in, set up Salesforce, set up a sales team, find marketing partners, and really try to lead the company on a new growth plan. So did that for a long time and then started Brand North.
Nice. Honestly, I was super excited to speak with you just because of your wealth of experience. I feel like you're a person that's 5, 6, 7 steps ahead of me in terms of like owning a business, owning an agency, and steps beyond even the peak that I was able to reach when I had my Web3 agency. So I'm really excited to start digging deep because you're someone that seems to stay on the cutting edge of the newest technologies and how you can apply those effectively to your business. But I guess my first question would be like, how did you fall into legal and healthcare as a niche? And what kind of challenges did you run into right away there?
Yeah. So I didn't really, I did fall into it. It wasn't like I have a background in healthcare or I have,
Yeah, I was thinking investment banker, CMO, healthcare and legal. Normal path.
It's a little bit of a convoluted story, but when I tell it, it'll start to make more sense.
Sure.
Really, so when I left Wall Street, when I started working in private equity and kind of growth companies, one of the first companies that I landed with was a mental health clinic. They had one location at the time. I came on board. We grew to 18 different locations and had a very significant marketing spend. I was, not significant if you're comparing it to Apple or something like that, but I was spending over $2 million a month on AdWords and, just had a pretty large media buying budget and was really able to scale that. Company exited for over $150 million. And that kind of started my career and trajectory in that space because I learned it. It was a kind of a complex industry where there was a lot to learn. And then I really just it was a little bit by happenstance, but then I started getting recruited by other companies that wanted to
kind of like the world's best case study there, I would say.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a really good case study. It was really good for my career, and it kind of jump started me on that path. So I focused within healthcare and life sciences after that for probably the next 5 years in my career as a job. Then when I started Brand North, honestly, I didn't know the first thing about starting a digital marketing agency. It wasn't like I worked for a digital marketing agency before or really understood the inner function. So I had a lot of growing pains, more than I expected because I had so much success in growing businesses that I figured, well, if I know how to grow a business, I'll do a really good job at growing an agency where primarily my job is to grow other businesses. It's not like that. I'm sure as you know, I was doing it for 1 to 4 businesses at a time. Then, all kind of within the same sector, and just was able to actually implement the strategies that I wanted to implement. I had a budget, I had teams, doing that as a bootstrap startup, and then all of a sudden trying to do it across 50 different companies in all different sectors, I realized was very challenging. So when I started Brand North,
whole new SOPs for every single industry. You've got to relearn. I assume at that time you didn't have ChatGPT there to basically generate your entire reports to train your team on new industries and pivot. Yeah, man, it's a nightmare to go and try to tackle a bunch of different industries at once, for sure.
It was brutal, and I just honestly didn't understand that. I really didn't get how complex it was, because if I'm focusing on something, I'm pretty sure of myself that I'm going to figure it out. There's just not the bandwidth to do that across a lot of clients, across a lot of different industries, unless you have very, very competent staff. Or as a startup, it just, it was more like a consulting business where I had some people that were supporting me in doing that. So that was how it started out. I know I'm being long-winded, but we're doing e-commerce. We're doing everything. I figured out within a year that just was not going to work. And kind of tried a couple different industries out, and then ended up going back to what I had the success in. And
tried and true.
Yeah, where my reputation was really primarily. So started focusing on that again, and we've kind of just taken off since we made that decision.
I had a similar journey myself, trying to support too many different types of businesses. And that's actually one of the things that spurred me to leave Web3, is that, Web3 startups, it's already pretty small group and pretty small demographic there. And then you've got your DeFi, you've got your RWA, you've got your synthetic assets, you've got your GameFi tokens, you got your NFT projects, and the list just goes on. And then there's a new emerging tech, and the headache of keeping on the cutting edge. Even now I look, there's blockchains that use time as a way to, basically, to reach consensus. And I'm like, this is just becoming too much. You have to bring your team up to speed on every new project that you take on. There's no tried and true ways. You're not really building enterprise value at the end of the day, because you're taking on such a diverse set of customers that it's making revenue less predictable, results less predictable. So I think a lot of people can relate there. If you were to lay out if you were to do it all over again, how would have things changed for you? Would you have just stuck to healthcare, or, would you have just stuck to a certain set of trying different industries? How would you have gone about things?
Yeah, I think I would have focused right at the beginning, instead of just trying and failing at a bunch of things before finding the one that made a lot of sense. I also, and really what we're trying to do right now is, I kind of feel like the agency model in general is broken, to be honest with you. I
agree.
As a service provider, the multiples are not there. If you're very specialty like we are, I think it increases a little bit. But if you're doing $3, $4, $5 million in annual revenue, your exit is essentially 1.2 to 1.5 times revenue, right? It's not like a 10x like you're getting in SaaS or in productized offerings. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm really at this point, continuing very aggressively on scaling the agency business, but we're really trying to wrap it in software and use AI and use different automations to really just effectively streamline what we're doing so that it doesn't take quite as much human capital. And in addition to that, just really be able to, I look at it as if we're actually providing a product, not just a service. Like our websites and our systems are our product, and people are coming on to our proprietary platform. So really trying to position it much more as a software and a service. And then in addition to that, we've had some success, and I'm actually angel investing. And a lot of times with our clients, we'll have a even deeper relationship where we'll take an equity position in the company. So yeah, trying a bunch of different things, but it's definitely been a fun, interesting ride.
Just gonna quickly close my blinds.
Sure.
Because that light coming through is crazy. I was becoming invisible. I'm so ghost white. No, man, that's so cool. I think I have a similar mentality. It's almost like that design joy, kind of productizing or softwareizing like design, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's basically design as a service, where you just get unlimited. It's a subscription model. They can have, dozens upon dozens of clients, and sometimes they're going to need something, sometimes they're not. They're using a bunch of different templated systems in the back end to automate, logo creation, logo flows, communication with clients, how they collect their data, how they collect their kind of information, and systematizing and automating and productizing. I think it's the future. For myself, like almost everything we do day to day internally is learning how to automate prospecting, building out prospecting flows, tapping into various data sources to basically, go beyond just pulling data from Apollo or pulling data from ZoomInfo. And I think that's where you start building real value as an agency and really become not an agency. I think there's going to be a new term that comes out over time on what you are. I mean, you have like some people calling it like the growth partner model, like you're taking equity in some of these businesses, which is just thrilling. That's definitely a level I want to get to, but I don't think my offering's quite prolific enough, kind of like yours. And that actually leads me into my next question. How did you fall into such a like broad delivery, but such a focused benefit? I feel like you have a lot of things in motion just by looking at the Brand North website. You mentioned websites, you have SEO, sometimes it's local, sometimes it's national. How did you fall into doing so many things? And was that just a byproduct of kind of that initial case study with that $150 million exit you mentioned earlier?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd also say I wouldn't take a ton from that, from the Brand North website. We're in the process of redoing it, but it's funny. It's like when you get so busy and it's like embarrassing as a marketing company, but it's just the truth that a lot of people won't actually talk about. But it's like, we're so busy building client websites that like I haven't looked at our website in so long. It's brutal, but yeah, no, I mean, what you're saying is the truth. And I think it just kind of happened. It happened naturally. So we enter and we kind of, we have our target persona and we have that defined. And our goal is really to increase traffic and conversions. So if that's the goal, we start tackling that from two different ways. Like one, we need to make sure that the mousetrap works, right? The website is very functional. The calls to action, that whole workflow, which within this industry is very, it's very complex and more complex than other comparable industries, I guess I would say. To answer your question, I'm actually going to take a step back. So the question was, how did you kind of define what you're doing and who you're doing it for,
Well,
essentially, right?
really just such a prolific service offering, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it started in a few different ways. Like when I was just taking a step back and looking at what do I want to provide? What do I want to do a really good job at? And what can I do a really good job at? I started looking at it like, okay, I have experience with the sales process over the phone, right? And like, so I consider that an offline conversion. So I initially started looking at any service-based business that actually provides a service that's a high ticket offer. Right? I don't want to be in the e-commerce game. There's people that are better than that at that than
Mhm.
I am. I didn't want to get involved in
So
something
saturated.
sold online, right? I don't want to sell a widget spinner. I don't want to sell a t-shirt. I want to sell a high ticket service offering where somebody can actually afford to pay me to do good work,
Mhm.
right? So I started looking at industries that provide a service that is essentially in a repeatable fashion worth over $20,000. Right. So I kind of started there and started to look at a bunch of different things. And I already had experience in one of them, obviously. So that's how I chose that to begin with. And then I started to think about how can I not only provide results, but how can I prove those results? Right. Nobody's going to just continue to cut a check for over $100,000 a year if they can't see the return on investment for it.
Mhm.
So that's kind of step one is like building the website, doing everything that's regarding design development to actually get somebody that lands on the website to convert into a potential client or patient in our case. And then the second thing is making sure that the phone system is linked up with the CRM because it's an offline conversion. So if we just drive a bunch of traffic to the website, we don't necessarily know, did that person, were they qualified? Did they actually come in? Did they enter all of those things? So we started building a bunch of different tools around that and really making sure that we could track the entire conversion and where it's coming from. And then the last thing we do is really just start increasing and driving that traffic. But sounds like a lot. We've been able to get the process down where we're building like 40, 50 page websites within a week. And we already have the CRM integration and we've built so much around that same thing. So like when a client comes on with us, we're able to offer them more in the first 2 weeks than they'll probably receive from anybody else in an entire year.
Wow. And that must give you so much time to get like the, ad spend, AdWords spend in place, the keywords kind of pumping. Because I think one of the hardest parts about an SEO offer, or at least from what I hear, is that if you go this strictly organic route, it takes time for the payoff to kind of hit for the client. So if you can come in and have this side of the offer that's immediate value, wows them right away, and then carry through and be able to show the analytics a month later, you're buying that runway to really start generating results.
Yeah,
Would you agree with that?
absolutely. Like I'm
That's
just
sick.
trying to deliver as much as I possibly can. Like we literally have, we have deliverables, like several deliverables for day one, day two, day three.
I
Right?
love that, man.
First become a client. Like what are your success? How do we ensure client success? And like a client last week, literally like they delayed their onboarding call. Something came up. So we didn't have a kickoff call day one. We had it like day 5 and they didn't even know because we didn't have the kickoff call, but we came to the call like, hey, here's your new website. It's already done. And they were like, I didn't even know that you guys were building us a new website. This is the best thing that's ever happened to me, because so we're just like really trying to over deliver at the beginning of the contract because I feel like that really sets the tone and kind of establishes our credibility at the beginning.
Man, to me, it sounds like your retention must be absolutely insane, number one. And number two, I would love for you to walk me through like what are the like 3 driving forces for making sure you wow that client right off the bat. There's the product side, but what else are you doing to make sure that they're aware of everything that your team is delivering on? Do you have multiple like success managers in place? What are the like big 3 drivers there?
Yeah, so that's tough. That's something that we've actually been in big conversation over the last month or two in our
Mm,
organization because we're trying to really further define those things. But yeah, at the beginning, it's just like we want to get all of the major things out of the way and really be able to just run through them. So starts obviously with the conversation. They go through the sales process. They do all of the kind of brutal onboarding stuff that they have to do. Then immediately like invited into Slack
like
after
that, you
they
call it brutal. It is.
it is, you know.
It is.
But no, really, look, we try to make that as simple as possible because it is brutal, right? So
Yeah.
we're not even like asking for all these different forms and stuff. Like we just make it very conversational where we get them into the Slack channel. That's the first thing. Then we start getting information from them. We have like videos on how to give us all of the information, just trying to make it
Hmm.
super, super simple. And then as soon as we get the information that we need in the background, we've already done a crawl of the website. We've already done all of their, AdWords, Facebook libraries, all the different things that they're doing. We have a download of that, and then it goes to fulfillment where we're making updates and suggestions to that. And again, like since we're primarily working in the same industry, we have enough data to know what works, right? So we're able to like adapt all of their different channels right away, and we deliver that after an internal review. We send it over to them. They sign off on it. This is all happening within the first 48 to 72 hours. So a lot of times this would take like, if I was doing it in a different industry, even though I have experience, like it would take me a week to probably several weeks to actually figure that out. And then I might still find out that I made a mistake down the road. Um, so with
And
us,
those mistakes are like incredibly costly in the realm of SEO, right?
so costly. Like
Yeah.
if you start off wrong, like the way I think about it with SEO is like whatever seeds you're planting in the first 30 days is what you're going to be sowing in 6 months when the contract starts to come under review or renewal or something like that, right? So if you don't nail it when you're first getting started, you're just throwing your clients' results out the window down the road, especially when it becomes time for them to say, like, everybody's going to start thinking after the 6 month period, is this working or is this not working? And if you don't hit it right off the bat, you're not going to have results because if you need to do another pivot, you have to pivot at 6 months and then you're looking at a year to start really getting, getting everything set up the right way.
Wow. Wow. And on that note, when it comes to that confidence over contracts, I'd love to hear your thoughts over contract lengths because I think a lot of people starting out or even getting deeper into the agency game get really, really nervous of the friction that a contract can bring into their offer. What's your take?
Yeah, I don't really have any pushback, honestly. We've had it a couple times where people will push back on certain things. The way that we do it is you have 6 month retainer at the beginning, and then it renews for a year after 6 months. Um, and yeah, we're pretty upfront about that. I've had people push back on the year renewal or different things like that, and I'll adjust it if we come to an understanding. But yeah, usually it's not a problem at all. And honestly, we have very, very low churn. Like I don't even do any marketing because if we bring on another 2 clients per month, like we're increasing by several $1 million a year, basically, like, cause we're not really losing very many clients. So, yeah, I just, especially if you're providing SEO or something that really takes time and testing to come to fruition, I just straight up tell them like, look, if you're not committed to this for 6 months, then you probably should, you're just not ready for this service. And that's
Yeah.
totally fine.
Look for another marketing channel, whatever, and come through with that indifference and that kind of consultative mindset. I think I saw a tweet that you were mentioning where a prospect just wasn't quite ready in terms of their product to move forward, and you ended up getting offered a consulting gig. Is that right? Does that happen to you often? And what do you think that's a byproduct of?
Yeah, it happens to me. Um, I used to think that it happened to me too much because it just took too much of my personal time, really,
Yeah.
to be able to fulfill. And it's fine. Like I could probably make $1 million a year if I was doing consulting. I might even make more than I make now trying to run an agency, but that's never been my goal is to be a one man type of show. It's hard for other people that don't have the experience within the industry to do that sort of work. So it does happen. Now I'm actually figuring out ways to run with it and actually make money off it when I'm not the only one that's having to do the work. So yeah, it will happen a lot of times. I probably also I'll just say like the reason that we have success because like I'm not taking on clients that I know we won't be successful at. Right. So if I'm talking to somebody and I identify that they're not ready for us, like they don't have a sales team in place, their operations aren't in place, whatever it is, then I'm just going to tell them like it's not the right time. So
Qualified clients or nothing, basically.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I'm just not interested in having turnover and in kind of like our client franchise. So yeah, if they're qualified, then we'll work with them and we'll have really good results for them and they'll stick around forever. If they're not, then it's just going to be disproportionate on both sides. And honestly, like I don't want to get upset calls from clients. Like I'm not interested in that. We're going to be 100% aligned or we're not. So that's kind of how I look at it. And, yeah, the consulting thing. So just from having enough reps at doing this, I'm actually starting to kind of expand our packages even more where I've just realized like, okay, there's no part of this that I don't know how to do. If you need finance help, I have chief financial officers that I've worked with for the past 10 years that are like, corporate CFO level people that can come in and help get you set up. Same thing with compliance, same thing with sales training, same thing with all of these different things, full fresh CRM build, Salesforce, like whatever really it is that you need. I do have these people in my network that can do this. So, we've kind of been adding all of those things on and just being able to provide that level of consulting for our clients.
It's pretty amazing. It sounds to me like you're running like a more real growth cohort to a degree where you've got like this client ascension group of guys, but it's actually industry veterans, not just Joe Schmo that ran a successful agency for like 2 years and then decided he's the be all end all on X topic, I guess,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's what I'm really trying to.
Have you seen those guys? I feel like you're the type of guy that probably wouldn't even care about that shit online.
Yeah, I see that shit all the time. Excuse my language, but I mean, dude, I've thought about selling courses and doing like the whole thing like that. And just like,
Yeah.
oh, man, like it's just such BS. Yeah, but I mean, the truth is that like your level of expertise is going to get you the level of client that you deserve, right?
Mhm.
And if they've run an agency for 2 years, if they, might be sharp, whatever it is, but are you really going to be able to do that at an enterprise level and be successful at it and make money at it? It's going to be
Probably
difficult,
not.
right? So
Yeah.
most of those guys that are saying those things, they're really like, they might be talking about it. They might have landed some clients like that, but they're really just doing it to sell people something. They're trying to make their first $10,000 online is for the part.
They don't even really care about the results of that. What they really want to do is get out of the agency game and get into a game that's a bit more easy on delivery, right?
Yeah,
I think that's all it's about.
They just want to sell an info product, basically.
Exactly.
So
Infinite margins, dream come true. Not actually provide any true value and put the onus on the person kind of consuming the product to get themselves results. I think that's the thing that bothers me about a lot of info products, especially the expensive ones. I don't mind monetizing a good piece of information for, a reasonable price. But when you're talking $3,000 for something that is just basically a bunch of video modules that you get on like LinkedIn Premium, for like Facebook advertising or something, and then you take all those results of the, 1% of people that find success and just blast them over landing pages to sell it again. Not my thing personally.
It's kind of crazy. I mean, I've thought about doing it on Twitter for the first time because I have a totally different audience on Twitter. Like I'm, with my LinkedIn, Facebook, all those different things, everything that I do online, actually, it's professional. And then I have my Twitter where I'm
With the
like
D gods, the NFT.
semi-anonymous, all this
Yeah.
different stuff. But I have a very different audience on there, and I've thought about creating something that's just like a Chat GPT basics course and selling it for like $50 or
Hmm.
something like that because I think it would actually
I'd
be
buy it off you, man.
helpful and
100%.
helpful and interesting. But I've thought about doing it for a little while. I just literally haven't had a chance to even set up a landing page or anything like that yet. And it's not top of mind.
I hear
But
you.
yeah, I mean, look, I pay right now. I onboarded into agency consulting training course. It was, I think, $6,000 to sign up. I paid $2,500 a month for it,
Hmm.
and I'm very happy to pay it. Like I've got people in there that are making more money than I am, that are serving more clients than I am, and it's kind of like a mastermind group for anybody that's doing several million dollars in revenue per year, and they have some really good processes for like how to increase your staffing models and like when you should be hiring more and how you should be hiring more and just like
Kind
aligning
of like predictive hiring models and things like that.
things like that. And it doesn't matter how much experience I have in business or the different things that I've done. Like I've really never done it before in an agency. So I'm trying to
Yep.
learn these things and get as much knowledge as I possibly can. And that's why I've had success in the past anyways, because I try to remain a consummate student. And so, I'm happy to do it, but I would almost say like 99% of the crap that's being sold on the internet is not usually worth it.
Pretty much garbage. It's not truly like it's just like commoditized information at the end of the day that is accessible in a free form typically. Unless you're like talking to someone with a hyper niche skill set that's super active in it, you can even go to someone that's like below you, for instance. If, they've I don't know, managed to freelance or solopreneur their way to like $1 million using one skill, maybe like CRO or something for ecom brands. And then, you'll hit that guy up and you'll be pretty confident that he's got something there for you for that specific skill. But the moment those guys start dropping skills or like info products on how to build a business, I'm like, all right, I mean, have you hired someone before? Because to me, that's the biggest nightmare is hiring and training people, So
True.
I find that super interesting. I've seen a lot of your stuff just to pivot on AI. One thing that stuck out to me is that you referenced a tendency to store everything in one instance of GPT. This was months ago. Has that changed over time? Do you still have that one ChatGPT that basically handles everything for you, or are you kind of spreading out your models?
Yeah, I'm definitely spreading it out. I'm doing it a completely different way than that now.
Yeah.
And the thing that's tough about it is like it's changing at the speed of light. So if you're not ready to pivot and in there to fight and change all of your systems on a regular basis, then you're going to get left behind pretty quickly. So yeah, we're now. I brought on a chief automation officer. So
Nice.
that's really cool. That's a new position that's 90 days old basically at the company. And that's just been a joy. That's really, really fun. So, yeah, I guess now, I'm doing it much in a more sophisticated way than I was at the beginning. At the beginning, I was just kind of like, I was trying everything. I mean, I was spending all day on it, just trying to prompt and reprompt and just because I know all of these things well enough, especially when it comes to SEO and systems and things where I know exactly the output that I'm looking for, right? SEO is actually mathematical. A lot of people don't realize that, but like the way that you produce content, it's being crawled by a mathematical algorithm. And if you're not writing to appease that, then, like I could look at an entire website, 100-page website, 200-page website, 500-page website, and I could basically tell you like what words need to be in every single paragraph and where the internal links need to be and just all of these different things. It has to be very there's a logic to it, right? So I was testing and testing and testing, trying to get the optimal output. And I developed a lot of things through that, but now what we're doing is basically custom fine tuning it and actually going through the API and giving, like, with regular ChatGPT 4, you can give the custom instructions, but it's just not enough, right? It's not enough, and it's not really learning based on.
Are you feeding it data sets at this point via like Python and then plugging it into like Sheets or various APIs to have it pull information from data stores?
Exactly. Yeah, so that's exactly what we're doing. So I have a whole set of rules. We have like 20 pages of rules that we've given it on, like, just writing styles, like what I want the output to be. And then we're feeding it custom data sets that we've obtained or that we're getting through different various sources, and we're getting that, and we're plugging the prompts in, mixing with the data sets, all of these different things. It's all still being edited, prompted, all that stuff by a real human being that understands this stuff. But yeah, that's basically how I'm doing it.
Can I bounce an idea off you related to kind of agents and that whole kind of API backend stuff?
Yeah.
What do you think of potentially having an almost ICP market research agent that draws directly from active subreddits and scans them? Because in Make right now, you can easily plug ChatGPT in to pull hot trending posts and then pull all of the top comments and process that straight through GPT. And to me, Reddit is the most lax place where people share basically, anything and everything about their specific thing, no matter what it is. You go to like r/indie hackers, you're going to find everything you need to know about a SaaS founder between 10 and 30K MRR if you need to, right? What do you think of something like that just constantly streams that data, pulls it into like specific ICP generations? I think that could be a decent agent system.
Yeah, I think that's pretty sharp, and it's funny. So in the last Google algorithm update, Reddit was like the biggest winner out of any website on the internet.
It's ranking on keywords now, right? Like big time?
Crushing.
Okay, I heard that, but I didn't want to bring it up because I thought I'd sound ignorant as heck talking to you about it.
Yeah, they're crushing it, man. So in the last, so Google it's freaking crazy. Usually they do it once a year. In the last 120 days, they've done 3 Google algorithm updates. They're like broad updates.
It's all because of AI, right?
Yeah, basically, because they just can't digest it. They can't digest the amount of information anymore. So, yeah, so they did, it's called the helpful content update. And they said in the release or in the development documents that basically the helpful content can be found in unusual places. So they basically start going through search engines like even Twitter and going through Reddit and Quora, whatever it is.
Even TikTok, I think, right?
Yeah, even TikTok. So if somebody gives something that's really super helpful, then they're actually showing that in Google search. So a lot of times actually for different stuff, you're just messing around on Google or any search engine. I say Google, but anything that you type in, a lot of times you'll find subreddit response is actually the number one result for like a pretty major query. So it's funny. We've actually been like, I've been hiring people like creating subreddits and creating different things on terms that I want to rank for or that I want my clients to show up for. So we'll get it ranked on Reddit and then link to our client's website so we could like steal that traffic.
Wow. And is there like implications on domain authority from backlinks to Reddit like that? Like, are you increasing domain authority from those types of backlinks, or does it not matter?
Not really. I mean, it helps crawlability.
Crawlability. Okay.
Yeah, it'll help with speed of indexing, but it won't necessarily provide like more domain authority.
So walk me through it. If I were to start an SEO tomorrow, what are the like top things I should take care of right away? Like, what's going to have the most meaningful impact for instance, my business and a cold email business? Yeah,
absolutely. So, I mean, cold email, very simple. You want to cover all of the different, if you're looking at cold email, right, you're going to take the word cold and you're going to take the word email, right? So there's a lot of, this is like the beginning of your topical semantic map, right? So cold means in your context, essentially that it's the first touch. It's the introduction, right? So you're going to cover that completely. Like what does that mean? Like what does it mean to get in touch with a prospect for the first time? You know, like how should you introduce yourself to a potential business prospect? How can you get somebody's attention if it's the first time that you're meeting, right? You want to talk all about those different things. And then same thing with email. And then you're going to merge those together and then start talking about cold email strategies, how to, what, when, where, you know, all of these different things, types of emails, softwares to use with emails, you know, anything. So you have like, just based on the different things that I've said, you probably have well over 500 articles, right? That will kind of shape that entire thing together. So that based on your budget, that's going to be your plan over however many months that it takes to execute that. If you have a big budget, you can do it in a month. Hire 30, 40 writers, right? If you don't, then it's going to take more time, and that's fine. But you're going to want to cover all of those things together in a semantically connected way. And I talk like a nerd about this stuff. You can just stop me at any point in time.
No, I like it. Go deep.
Yeah. So you're going to do all of those things. And then really the whole reason and the theory behind all of this is that on every single one of those pages, it's essentially a web document that the search engines and just people in general are reading that specific article, and they want you to cover everything that's on that article so they can really find the answer to their question. So if you're talking about what is cold email, right? So you're going to write what is cold email outreach, the definition of those things, right? And then you're going to cover how successful is it? When is the best time to use it? You know, what are the benefits? What are the downsides? All these different things. But you want to answer it in a very specific way. So what are the benefits of cold outreach, cold email outreach? The benefits of cold email outreach are X, Y, and Z based on M data points, right? And the reason that you're doing that is because right now AI is spamming the internet. Thousands isn't the right word. You have billions of new pages that are coming on the internet on a regular basis. Why should anybody care about your content versus another piece of content? Google literally cannot handle it, and they will not, because it costs them too much money to crawl a shitty page. So if you have a question and a very immediate, succinct answer to that question, right, then it costs Google less money to read your page than it does.
Such an interesting perspective. Wow.
So SEO is literally at this point in time, like the way that I look at SEO is how much money can I save Google to crawl my website versus another website? Right? It just makes all the sense in the world. Like it you know, if you're running a bot to go and do something,
that's an incredible perspective. Yeah.
that compute power costs money. So if
especially in this GPU crisis that's ongoing, eh?
It's literally, it's crazy, right? So like Google is going to trend to websites and to content that is efficient for it to understand. And
then there's going to be like other variables that come into play, such as like how long they stay on the page or whether or not the snippet preview answers the question in itself. What's your take on the use of AI in SEO? You sound like you have some mixed opinions just based on what you're saying. Are you taking advantage of it in any way to increase your volume?
Yeah, so we are, but it has to, like, AI can speed things up in the state that it's in right now. If you are not basically educated on it and have tested enough to the point where where like I have basically, it's going to just be really difficult to have long-term success because you could create those 500 pages with AI, but that I just, talked about with you, like for cold email outreach, you could do all of those things, but what's going to happen ultimately is that the AI will get further and further away from the entity, right? So if you're trying to cover reasons why, cold email outreach will benefit your company, right? Or
Like
was it
extreme long tail keywords, basically.
no, I mean it can be for anything, right? If you're not, the point is you have to answer the question very immediately and
And succinctly.
specifically and accurately,
Mhm.
right? So if you're just if you give, like, if you can write a perfectly crafted content outline, and if you give that entire outline to ChatGPT and put it in there, it's going to diverge further and further away from the goal of that article the further that it gets, right? The language learning model will not always know exactly what to say in the context of the overall article. So if you're starting off with types of businesses that could benefit from cold email outreach, and you're ending the article with, what are the success rates of cold email outreach? It's not going to answer that question in the context of types of businesses that benefit from it, unless you give it
Uh,
that prompt very specifically, right? Like you can write the answer to that, how successful is cold email outreach, in the context of different businesses where it works really well, or you can just answer that question and ChatGPT will just answer that question without having the right context of the overall document. So, and I know I'm getting super nerdy here, but that's the problem with it, right? So that's what I've been trying to solve for the last several months is like, how can we have that level of accuracy without having to individually prompt? Like, I mean, right now I can write the best article on the internet with ChatGPT, but it's going to take me like 100 prompts to write that article to get the output that I want from it. Right.
so
So, yeah.
I guess kind of like boiling it down, your use of AI comes down to how much can it help you as quickly as possible before you hand it off for human touch? Is that kind of the idea? Do you sometimes use it or have, I guess most of the time you're probably not writing at this point, I'd imagine, but your staff, your workers, do you have them using it to draft some outlines? Did you have it, potentially suggesting extra keywords for them to look into? Is there anything there?
Yeah, there's a lot that's there. Like there are a
Yeah.
lot of different ways where it's extremely, extremely helpful. Like our content velocity is 10x what it was a year and a half ago. So
Okay.
yeah, so it's very helpful, but I guess I'm just making the distinction of it has to be used in a very specific way. Like any of these writers, if you look at Jarvis or Neuron Writer, or Write with AI, or whatever the heck it is, there's a million of them right now, and you just put something in there and you expect that to actually get you a result. It's not going to happen. So yeah, we're using it, but we're using it in a very specific way to kind of get
Strategically, basically.
the end
And I think
result.
that aligns exactly with my view on AI. Basically, I think it's an incredibly good enhancer to someone who's already a niche master. So if you're a master over SEO, if you're a master over cold email, you're going to be able to detect whether or not its output is actually valid. Whereas the average layman that's coming in and expecting to be able to basically tap into all these marketing channels or all these different industries is going to suffer for it because they're not going to actually be able to vet the information that's being pulled out of it. And no matter how well you prompt, sometimes the information can still be a bit chaotic just because of hallucinations in the LLM, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we'll wrap up there. Honestly, a huge pleasure talking to you, George. I think this is long overdue. I've been watching your tweets, and honestly, man, I think you gotta start a YouTube channel or something. You've gotta get yourself out there. The content game. You've got this like laid back, I don't give a fuck, like Master Roshi dad energy. I'm telling you right now, like it feels like you can deliver information in such a candid way that people are just going to be obsessed with it.
I appreciate that, man. Look, like if you're down, we should work on it together because I'd love to do it. And I'm starting to do it. I'm kind of like I'm doing all the podcasts and stuff like that, but I've never tried to promote myself before personally, or I've never really even I've just never focused on it. And so there's definitely like I think a little bit of nerves and just like what's the right way to do it, what's the wrong way to do it. Now I'm just like screw it, I'm just gonna do it. But I still don't have an end goal with it. Like I don't know if I'm ever gonna find my target client through doing this for my agency, and that's why I've never really done it. If I could start producing content and it would really resonate very, very well with my industry, then I'd do it. I think I can to an extent, but at the end of the day, like I can go speak at a conference and get a bunch of clients in person, which is probably the best, most useful client acquisition strategy for me. So I think there's something there, but I just have to figure out what is it that I'm talking about specifically and then go from there.
But even those conferences, you could be flipping those into, full-fledged YouTube videos that are edited, and then you have insane social proof of you speaking at X conference right when someone Googles your name.
For sure.
We need that Kocher or Kocher? Kocher, sorry. We need that George Kocher SEO maxing out, long tail keywords on George. You're going to dominate the web.
I started doing it. It's funny. I can hang around for a few more minutes and we can wrap up. But I started doing it a little bit. It actually happened naturally because I publish. I'm like a contributor to Forbes and Entrepreneur Magazine, a bunch of different stuff where I just I'll write an article once every 3 months or something like that for it. But yeah, now I've got like the what's it called when you have like a knowledge panel and stuff about you. So that kind of
man, that's such a flex. I love that.
Yeah, so that was cool.
Huge subtle flex. If you are interested in doing content, I actually have this group of guys I could put you in contact with if you wanted to have a quick like consultory call or something. They're super laid back. I know one of them, himself has a 450,000 subscriber YouTube channel. So he's just been in the game forever. Yeah, if you want, I can put you into contact with them. Just let me know. But yeah, man, take it away. Tell the people where they can find you. Are you going to start posting more? Like,
I am. I'm going to start. I'll make that commitment here. I'm going to start posting more. I've
nice.
I literally started the YouTube channel a couple weeks ago. Got a couple reels on there. Started to ease my way into it. So I think you'll see more from me on that. But yeah, everything's pretty much under George Kocher, Kocher. Last name. That's my website. My company's name is Brand North. So you can find all the Brand North socials or find my personal ones, and I'm going to start putting out more information.
Awesome. I can't believe how many hidden gems there are like you out there that are just growing sick agencies in really, really refined niches and just crushing it and figuring out AI. It's really dope to see. And again, thanks for being on.
I appreciate it, bro. Talk soon.